Afternoon.
Well, how do you see the importance of this year's G20 meetings in light of the new global challenges, namely the Israeli aggression on Gaza and Lebanon and strikes in Africa and the war in Ukraine?
Of course, this G20 will be one of a unique gathering of the G20 in Brazil for the first time in Rio de Janeiro, in one of the countries of developing countries. So there's a big focus on the challenges that are meeting the developing countries, especially in peace and security. Of course, the war that is extended and the bloodshed that is taking place in the Middle East is going to hang over the G20, because how can they speak about sustainable development when peace and security is not yet succeeded in the Middle East and in many developing countries also. There has been in Sudan, in many places in Africa, and also the war, of course, that in Ukraine, that is also affecting the food security of the developing countries. So I think that the importance of the meeting of the G20, the summit this year, is going to be very important, especially that the motto is building a just world and a sustainable planet. That means that it has to secure peace and security, and also try to guarantee sustainable development.
Yes. So, Your Excellency, Ambassador Shalaby, the G20 countries have agreed to a global alliance against hunger and also against poverty unveiled by Brazil last July. How do you weigh the move?
Well, this is a very good initiative by Brazil, and it calls for a global alliance against hunger and poverty. That means eradicating these two dangerous epidemics that are going to take away the lives of people, especially in poor countries. So combating and eradicating poverty and combating hunger is very important, because the topics for discussions are mainly on this global this launch for the global alliance, and how to mobilize the resources, financial and knowledge-based resources, to accelerate also the global efforts that are going to focus on combating and eradicating hunger and poverty around the world.
Yes, Your Excellency, Ambassador Shalaby, observers said that the world is looking to a G20 in Rio de Janeiro for a breakthrough in climate talks. So what can we expect in this regard?
As you know, the topics for discussions are mainly going to be tomorrow and after tomorrow. So the topics that have started to be discussed in July and continuing until now are the social inclusion and reforming of global governance, energy transition with sustainable development, and climate change. Because, as you know, now the COP29 is held in Baku, and the challenges that are meeting the world that are posed by the climate change needs to be addressed. So the environmental degradation, the biodiversity loss, and the pollution, everything and of course the accessibility of water, because water security challenges are most important. So they are going to, it is part of the discussion that is going to take place regarding the climate change.
Well, in your opinion, Your Excellency, what are the reasons for the global hunger crisis and the first steps towards reducing it?
Well, the global hunger crisis is mainly because of the wars that are taking place in the world, because all the financial budgets are going to war and not to fight hunger and to fight poverty. So the possibility of providing food security for all the countries that are having disasters, whether it is economic disaster or natural disasters, or during the wars, all these disasters are happening, and it causes, of course, migration and demobilization, and people are leaving their countries and living in camps, and they need to be. They need food security to provide food for all these people in the camps, whether they are in Sudan, whether they are in Gaza, in Lebanon. The people are, the refugees are leaving their countries. They are facing hunger, whether it is by not providing the food and assistance, medical assistance, and or by just by having climate problems, the degradation of the soil, not having enough water from the rain. So the hunger crisis that is facing the world is a product of many challenges that are facing the world, whether it is war or natural disasters.
Yes, Your Excellency, how social inclusion help to eradicate the poverty and the hunger as proposed by Brazil?
Yes, there has been a lot of talk about how these countries who are going to meet, they are 20 countries, the largest economies of the world. They represent 80% of the global GDP and 70% of international trade. So how can they not focus on the global economic challenges, and how can they not find solutions through cooperation and policy coordination for these problems that are facing the world? Social inclusion is important because if it is part of the sustainable development goals that you have to put a priority to those poor and those who are not able to reach to an acceptable standard of living. There has to be focus on the projects that are being focused on human capital, especially in health and education sectors.
Yes,
so
yes.
This is.
Yes, very important. Yes, how can mobilizing financial and knowledge-based resources be implemented to eradicate the poverty and the hunger?
Well, this is on the agenda. It's one of the most important priority on the item of the agenda of the G20. And of course, these big economies have to provide financial resources for the social inclusion, for combating hunger, there has to be global efforts, and they have to invest in human capital, because people are the ones that are going to solve their problems. It is not going to happen without the investment in education and health. So there has to be initiatives by those countries, the global big powers, the global economic powers to find a way to face those challenges by cooperation and policy coordination.
Yes.
And financial, of course, financial inclusion.
Yes, Your Excellency, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi is to highlight the challenges faced by developing countries in order to achieve development. How would you list such challenges?
Well, President Sisi is going to represent mainly African countries and developing countries, and this is a very good opportunity to highlight the development efforts that are being taken in Egypt in order to face hunger and face poverty and for social inclusion. Also, this is a very good opportunity for Egypt as a regional power to showcase the projects that are being done in Egypt in order to achieve sustainable development goals. Also, he has a responsibility also to shed light on the emergency of stopping the war and in the Middle East, the
yes.
emergency of stopping the bloodshed in Gaza and in southern Lebanon.
Yes, I thank you very much for your time. Thank you for your valuable information, Your Excellency Ambassador Sou'ad Shalaby, former Assistant Foreign Minister. Thank you very much for joining us over the phone. I really had the honor to have this phone with you. Well, the G20 countries have agreed to Global Alliance Against Hunger and Poverty unveiled by Brazil last July. The alliance